My name is Dr. Barnard, and I'm really proud to share with you the first few chapters of my new book, How to Transform Your Organization, Your Life, and Your Relationships from Fragile to AntiFragile by Dr. Barnard. I will start by reading the foreword that really contains the context of why I wrote this book. Foreword. This book has been in the works since 2011, originally inspired by the haunting and inspirational last words of my mentor, Dr. Eli Goldratt. Before he sadly passed away in June 2011, his final words to me were, "Do not dare stand in my shadow, stand on my shoulders." But let me tell you how this really began with the most devastating year of my life. In 2008, I thought I'd cracked the code on living. I was living my professional dream, co-founding Goldratt Research Labs with my mentor, Dr. Eli Goldratt, the man who revolutionized business thinking with theory of constraints. Here I was, this kid from South Africa, working alongside one of the greatest business minds of our time. Our company was profitable from day one, with Fortune 500 companies lining up to work with us. My body was a machine. I discovered the ketogenic diet, dropped 30 pounds effortlessly, and traveled constantly, sometimes 3 continents in a week, without ever getting sick. I had this incredible energy that seemed unlimited. My heart was overflowing. My wife and I was blissfully happy. We'd been blessed with our 2 beautiful boys in 2006 and 2007, Christian and Francois. Becoming a father awakened something in me I didn't know existed. I deliberately scaled back travel to be there for bedtime stories, first steps, those innocent questions. I was completely smitten with being a dad. We were months into building our dream home, a place where we'd imagine raising our boys and growing all together. I was weeks away from my PhD, achieving my goal of graduating before my 40th birthday. Life felt almost too good to be true. I would joke with my friends that we were living in a fairy tale. Ironically, just a week after receiving my PhD, I was interviewed about it on a podcast. The last question was, "Dr. Barnard, considering your amazing life so far, any regrets?" My reply sounded too cliched. No, I don't really live life in a way that I have regrets. I do not think regrets are helpful. They are mostly harmful. The interviewer was persistent. "Surely you do have some regrets?" I realized she wasn't letting me get away with my non-vulnerable answer. After thinking about it, I said, yes, I have 2. One is that I do worry my boys won't understand why I traveled so much and often couldn't be there for them at those special events. I hoped they would understand. And secondly, I worried that I hadn't failed enough, that things had been too good for too long. Maybe the universe went, "Oh, I can help with that," because shortly after, I got hit with what felt like a perfect storm, a storm I was not prepared for despite my resilient nature. The rest of 2009 hit me like a freight train. My health collapsed suddenly. Shortly before graduating, I developed a series of infections that stumped doctors. Multiple CT scans, biopsies, they couldn't figure out what was wrong. That immunity to illness shattered. That superhuman energy gone. I ended up in an emergency room 3 times with infections that nearly killed me. I lost my gallbladder and lost almost 4 weeks of productive time. My wealth declined massively, not slowly but rapidly. Medical expenses, construction overruns for our dream home, the lost income during my illness. My business that had seemed so solid suddenly felt built on quicksand. And my marriage began to fracture. The health crisis, financial pressures, construction stress, it all created cracks that somehow turned into chasms. Both sides feeling their unique and important contributions to our marriage and our boys' upbringing was taken for granted. Our dream home became a source of anxiety rather than joy. By the end of 2009, we were talking about separation. The woman I adored felt like a stranger, and I felt like a complete failure. How could everything that seemed so strong collapse at once? I'd been successful, disciplined, thoughtful about every decision. I'd followed all the rules, done everything right, yet when real stress hit, my entire life crumbled faster than I could process what was happening. The answer, the revelation that changed everything, came in 2011 when I read Nassim Taleb's AntiFragile. As I read it, everything suddenly made sense in the most painful and liberating way possible. I hadn't built a strong life. I'd built a fragile one. Every system I was so proud of, my business, health routines, financial planning, even my relationship, was optimized for normal conditions. I could handle typical ups and downs, but none of it was designed for a perfect storm of extreme stresses hitting all at once. I'd confused being able to handle everyday challenges with being prepared for real volatility. Finally, I understood. My failure wasn't moral failure or bad luck. It was system design flaw. The design flaws can be fixed. That realization sparked what became a 13-year obsession with understanding not just how things break, but how to build systems that grow stronger when they're stressed. This book is the result of that journey. Part research project, part therapy session, part love letter to everyone who's ever had their world fall apart and wondered how to build it back better. I hope that resonates with you. I'm sure it does, else you wouldn't be listening to this. So let me read the introduction. Introduction. When everything I thought was so strong turns out to be fragile. It's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change. Charles Darwin. It was a warm Monday morning, clear sky, light breeze, the smell of bacon from the street carts. I was stiff after a long flight from South Africa, so I walked the 6 blocks from my hotel near Central Park to the Random House building. No coat, no suitcase, just a notebook in my hand, and Dr. Ellie Goldratt on my mind. Dr. Goldratt was my mentor, friend, and business partner. He was the creator of Theory of Constraints and was the person who made the biggest impact on my life. Dr. Goldratt sadly passed away just 9 days before, and the loss was still raw. The meeting with the CEO was meant to be a quick review of the operational and financial performance gains Random House had made after we helped them implement the Theory of Constraints solution for better managing inventories throughout the supply chain. The CEO thanked me for the work we did, then paused, shook my hand and said, "I'm sorry about Ellie. He taught all of us to think more critically and more clearly." That hit hard. We spoke about Ellie for a few minutes. Then he smiled and said, "I have a small gift for you." He opened a drawer and pulled out a plain shoebox. Inside was an early galley of AntiFragile, still unpublished. "Have you read Taleb's other books?" he asked. "Yes, really like The Black Swan and Fooled by Randomness," I said. "If you like those, you're going to love this," he told me. "Read it tonight and let me know what you think." I could hardly wait for the day to end. As soon as the last workshop wrapped up, I walked back to the hotel, ordered coffee, kicked off my shoes, started reading. I didn't stop until I turned the last page. Then I found a passage that explained everything. Why the perfect storm had hit me so hard, why I was simply not prepared. It was a system design mistake. You see, my youth was filled with negative stresses. I'd survived and thrived through a challenging childhood in South Africa. What did not kill me made me stronger had been my lived experience. I was naturally anti-fragile. But in my adult life, I'd become really good, maybe too good, at buffering myself from negative stresses. Success had insulated me from volatility. And as Taleb writes, crucially, if anti-fragility is the property of all those natural and complex systems that have survived, depriving these systems of volatility, randomness, and stresses will harm them. They will weaken, die, or blow up. We've been fragilizing the economy, our health, life, education, almost everything by suppressing randomness and volatility. Just as spending a month in bed leads to muscle atrophy, complex systems are weakened, even killed when deprived of stressors. That's exactly what happened to me. That's what I'd intuitively felt with my regret about not failing enough in my adult life. I'd accidentally transformed from anti-fragile to fragile by avoiding the very stresses that had once made me stronger. The 3 shocks that revealed my fragility. Health crisis. Despite years of taking care of my body, no alcohol, no drugs, only real food, one superbug infection nearly killed me. I lost my gallbladder. I couldn't work for months. How could someone so healthy be so vulnerable? Business cash flow crisis. 2 years, our company had grown at double digits. Our constraint was capacity. We had more demand than what we could handle. Yet, when demand dropped 50% due to a referral slowdown, our cash buffer was wiped out in months. How could a profitable company go bust? Marriage crisis. After over a decade of marriage and two beautiful children, constant travel created distance. Small relationship issues somehow compounded until we decided to separate. How could years of love, trust, and respect unravel so quickly? Each crisis caught me completely off guard. There was no warning signs. Everything seemed fine until it suddenly wasn't. Sound familiar? The question that changed everything. That night in my hotel room, I realized I'd been asking the wrong question of my entire life. Most people ask, how do I avoid bad things happening? But here's the better question. How do I build systems that get stronger when bad things happen? This isn't about positive thinking or resilience or bouncing back. This is about something far more powerful. Becoming someone whose life, business, and relationships actually benefit from stress, volatility, and uncertainty. Standing on the shoulders of giants. In writing this book, I attempted to stand on the shoulders of three intellectual giants who saved my life, just as the instruction was for my mentor. Dr. Goldratt gave me the foundation. His theory of constraints taught me that every system has one thing limiting its potential. But Ellie focused on continuous improvement in stable environments. I needed something more. Nassim Taleb gave me the missing piece, the revolutionary idea that some systems don't survive stress. They get stronger because of it. But his brilliant work was theoretical and complex, at least for me. I needed to make it more practical. Jack Canfield, another giant, gave me the starting point. His E plus R equal O formula, event plus response equal outcome, helped millions take responsibility for the results. But real life is messier than the formula suggests. You always have two options for responses, not just one. Respond versus don't, or response A versus response B. And every response has two outcomes, not just one. Unique positive outcomes or pros and unique negative outcomes or cons. I wanted to develop a method that could be used to make decisions with this type of real-world complexity. Standing on their shoulders, not in their shadow, I developed practical frameworks and methods that have helped thousands of people and companies transform from fragile to anti-fragile. What you'll discover, this book will teach you the 4 types of systems and how to identify which type you're building in every area of your life. The universal 3-step transformation that works for business, personal life, and relationships. The one thing focusing cycle to find and remain focused on the next one thing that matters most in your organization, your life, and relationship. The Procon Cloud method for making difficult real-world decisions by creating breakthrough, anti-fragile innovations, solutions with a big upside if it works and a small downside if it does not. And how AI can amplify your anti-fragility without making you dependent on technology. A 90-day roadmap for implementing your transformation. But most importantly, you'll learn to see stress and uncertainty not as threats to be avoided, but as raw material for building something stronger than you ever thought possible. Your transformation starts now. The frameworks in this book aren't just theory. They're battle-tested by someone who lost everything and had to rebuild from scratch. And they also have been battle-tested by my clients around the world that range from small businesses to Fortune 500 companies and even non-profits. They work because they're born from real pain and real hope, real failure and real breakthrough. When the next storm comes, and trust me it will, you'll be ready not just to survive it, but to emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable than before. So let me ask you again, when one or more big stresses hit, and it will, how do you want to respond? Will you break, resist to survive, or grow stronger? Your answer will determine everything that follows. Part 1. The framework. Chapter 1. Why things break, survive, or get stronger. What does not kill me makes me stronger. Friedrich Nietzsche. Netflix was supposed to die. In 2007, they were mailing DVDs while Blockbuster dominated with 9,000 stores worldwide. When streaming started, Netflix had to compete with tech giants like Amazon and Apple who had deeper pockets and better technology. Then came the smartphone and smart TV revolutions, cord-cutting and a dozen new competitors. Every change should have killed them. Instead, Netflix used each challenge to get stronger. They turned streaming from a threat into their main business. They used data from DVD preferences to create hit original shows. They expanded globally faster than anyone thought possible. Today, Netflix is worth more than Disney. Blockbuster, who was the strongest and the best positioned to capitalize on the revolution at that time, is gone. It's a classic innovator's dilemma case study. What made the difference? The problem was strong. Most of us think building a strong life or business means making things that won't break. We try to avoid problems, minimize risks, and control what happens to us. But here's the thing. The stronger you try to make something, the more brittle it can become. Think about a bodybuilder who only lifts heavy weights in the gym. Their muscles get huge and powerful for that exact movement. But ask them to help you move furniture or play with kids for an hour, and they might struggle more than someone who looks less strong. Why? Because they optimized for one type of strength and became fragile to everything else. The same thing happens in business. Companies that run lean and efficient often collapse the moment their business model is disrupted or they are exposed to a major negative event. Why? No slack, no backup plans, no ability or agility to adapt quickly. It happens in relationships too. Couples who avoid all conflict might seem peaceful, but they often can't handle real disagreements when they inevitably arise. And it happened to me personally. I'd optimized my life for good times and had no idea how to handle really, really bad ones. There is a better way. What if instead of trying to avoid stress, you could use it to get stronger? What if your business could grow faster during tough times than easy ones? What if your relationship could become closer through conflict instead of avoiding it? What if setbacks in your personal life could actually make you more confident and more capable? This isn't just about positive thinking. It's a completely different way to design systems, whether those systems are businesses, personal lives, or relationships. Taleb's 3 types of stress response. With this book, AntiFragile, Systems That Gain from Disorder, Taleb introduced a simple yet powerful way of classifying systems based on their response to volatility and stress. It provided me with a clear explanation of why my strong life and why other strong systems that suddenly collapse under stress was really quite fragile. We know that all systems face both positive stresses, such as unexpected opportunities or fortunate events, and negative stresses, such as crises, setbacks, or adverse conditions. Taleb was one of the first to recognize that, more than past performance, a system's ability to thrive, survive, or fail depends on how it responds to these random stresses. Here's how he describes and graphically illustrates the equivalent stress response. Understanding which type you are and which type you want to become changes everything. Fragile systems. The porcelain cup. Fragile things can withstand small knocks, but break easily with larger knocks and never fully recover. Drop a porcelain cup from just more than a few inches and it shatters. Even if you glue it back together, it's weaker than before. Fragile systems are harmed more by negative stresses than they help by positive ones. They suffer disproportionate pain from setbacks while capturing limited benefit from equivalent positive events. As per the diagram below, a fragile system's stress response is concave. It has limited upside gain, but unlimited downside pain with increased levels of positive versus negative stress. So when you look at this diagram, the horizontal axis is where we plot stress. Towards the left is increased negative stresses. Towards the right is increased positive stresses. The vertical axis is the impact on the system of that positive and negative stress. On the top is increasing positive impacts like making more money, becoming happier. Below the line is negative impacts, increased negative impacts like losing money, becoming unhappier. And as you can see from the stress response, concave stress response, it has limited gain with increased positive stresses, but with increased negative stresses, it could have unlimited pain. That's asymmetry that's against you. That's not good, because even if you're exposed to random positive and negative stresses over time, The fact that you're harmed more by negative stress than what you benefit from the equivalent positive stress compounds, and you get worse and worse. Business example, a manufacturing company with no financial buffers, single source suppliers, and tight capacity constraints. A 20% demand drop causes a 60% profit decline, but a 20% demand increase only marginally improves results due to capacity limits. Maybe they can only have capacity for coping with 10% more. Personal example, someone whose self-worth depends entirely on external validation or career success. One professional setback can trigger months of depression, while career wins provide only temporary satisfaction. Relationship example, a partnership where small criticisms escalate into major conflicts that never fully healed, while positive interactions barely register and quickly fade. Robust systems, the metal cup. Robust things resist damage, but don't get better from it either. A metal cup won't break when dropped, but it won't improve from the experience. Robust systems are relatively indifferent to volatility. As per the diagram below, a robust system's stress response is sigmoidal. It has limited upside gain and limited downside pain, with increased levels of positive versus negative stress. As you can see, this familiar S-curve on its side. As you are increasing the negative stress, it's developed some kind of mechanisms to limit the negative impact. And as you get more and more positive stresses, those same mechanisms often also limit you from fully capitalizing on the gain. So you have limited pain, limited gain, not really much affected by volatility. During a downturn, the business might do a little bit worse. During an upturn, it might do a little bit better. Same with a person, same with a relationship. Business example, a utility company with stable demand, regulated pricing, and diversified operations. Economic downturns barely affect performance, but economic booms don't provide significant opportunities either. Personal example, someone with steady habits, moderate expectations, high levels of emotional control, and diverse coping mechanisms. Essentially a boring person. They weather setbacks without major disruption, but also don't capture much benefit from positive opportunities. Know any of those? Relationship example, a marriage where conflicts are managed without escalation, but don't lead to deeper understanding or deeper connection. The relationship maintains stability, but doesn't grow more intimate or satisfying over time. I know a few of those. AntiFragile systems, the muscle. Anti-fragile things get stronger from stress, but only the right kind and amount. Your muscles grow when you lift weights that challenge but don't injure them. No stress, no growth. Too much stress, injury. But the right amount, you become stronger than before. As per the diagram below, an anti-fragile system stress response is convex. It can have unlimited upside gain but limited downside pain with increased levels of positive and negative stresses. As you can see from this diagram, an anti-fragile system has developed some mechanism that can limit the negative stress even if it increases, and can fully capitalize on the positive stresses when those happen. Business example, Uber thrives on volatility through dynamic pricing and asset-light operations. During demand surges, profits multiply. Those surge prices will create additional capacity and additional margin for everyone. During downturns, costs drop quickly since they don't own the cars or employ the drivers. Personal example, someone who treats setbacks as learning opportunities and builds optionality through multiple skills and relationships. Challenges accelerate growth while good times create momentum for bigger opportunities. Relationship example, a partnership where conflicts lead to breakthroughs in understanding and intimacy. Shared challenges bring the couple closer together and strengthen their bond. The comparison table below show what fragile versus robust versus anti-fragile examples can look like from various domains. So if you think about domain, fragile, robust, anti-fragile. So typically, in general terms, fragile systems tend to be large. Robust systems tend to be smaller but specialized. Anti-fragile, small, not specialized. Knowledge, science book, journal, Wikipedia. Economic life, employee, owner, bureaucrat, freelancer, and investor. Reputation, politician, civil servant, reality TV star, where any publicity is good publicity, whether it's really bad or really good, doesn't matter. They are anti-fragile. Relationships based on conditional trust, which are going to be broken, that makes them fragile. Based on for better, for worse, very robust. Based on unconditional love or attraction, They can not only withstand stresses and conflicts, but actually benefit from each one of them. Psychology, post-traumatic stress is fragile. Normal is normal, robust. Anti-fragile people actually suffer from post-traumatic growth. After the loss of my job, things got much better. After the divorce, I'm having the best time of my life. So that's an interesting thing that I will cover in the chapter on relationships and personality. Ethics, no skin in the game, very, very fragile. Skin in the game, very robust. Soul in the game, that makes you anti-fragile. Discovering a FOF stress response. Since a very young age, the way I made sense of the world was to build models. These included mental models, mathematical models, and simulation models. And the more visual, the better. And I still do it today. One of the most frequent mental models I use is the 2x2 matrix. Two extremes across, two extremes down, and see what pops. I decided to create a 2x2 matrix with a horizontal axis of limited and unlimited gain and a vertical axis of unlimited and limited pain. When I plotted Taleb's free curves into this 2x2 matrix, one quadrant was empty. That empty box bugged me until the penny dropped. There had to be a fourth response. I called it bipolar or boom bust. Bipolar or boom bust systems, the roller coaster. Bipolar systems have unlimited upside potential, but also unlimited downside risk. They can grow rapidly during favorable conditions, but collapse just as quickly when stress turns negative. As per the diagram below, a bipolar or boom-bust system stress response is also sigmoidal but turned on its side. It has unlimited upside gain but also unlimited downside pain with increased levels of positive versus negative stress. So let's see what it looks like. You can see the familiar S-curve but now turned on its side. So they are able to capitalize fully on positive stresses, and the bigger the positive stress, the more they can capitalize on. But unlike an anti-fragile system, they don't really have mechanisms in place to cope with increased negative stresses. So unlimited pain, but also unlimited gain. These systems can grow rapidly, but also collapse quickly. They can swing between extreme highs and devastating lows. That's why I call them bipolar or boom bust. Business example, many high-growth startups like Theranos fall into this category. In 2014, it reached a peak valuation of nearly $9 billion with over $400 million in funding. By 2018, it was gone. Revenues and even profits can explode during good times, but significant disruptions, adoption challenges, or delays can trigger rapid collapse. Personal example, someone who swings between manic productivity and depressive crushes, and alternates between extreme fitness regimes and complete abandonment of health practices. I know a few of those people. Relationship example, a volatile partnership with passionate highs and devastating lows. The intensity can feel addictive, but the unpredictability eventually becomes exhausting and destructive. So what does a 2x2 fragility matrix look like? Below you can see my completed 2x2 matrix. Have a look at the 4 types of stress responses. It's easy to spot the differences, but can you spot what's the same? Have a look at it. Can you spot what's almost the same? Focus on the centers where I drew those squares. Have a look at the square boxes at the center of 4 charts where the horizontal and vertical axis crosses right there. Do you notice something? Apart from the gradient, they almost look identical. It's essentially a linear response to small positive and small negative stresses. Can you see they all look similar? They are all relatively linear and show the same stress response to small positive and small negative stresses. It means the only way to know what type of organization or person or relationship it is by exposing it to extreme positive and negative stresses. This to me was a real eye-opener. That's exactly what happened to me. And that's one of the keys here. If you want to identify which type are you, you will not be able to identify which type you are in unless you expose yourself to extreme stresses. Let me ask you to think about the last time you faced a significant negative or positive event or situation in your organization, your personal life, or your relationship. What happened? Did the negative event, the significant negative event, leave lasting damage that still affects you? If so, you were fragile in that situation. Did you handle it fine, but did not really grow from it? That's robust. Stable, but not strengthening. Or did you emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable? That's anti-fragile. Exactly what we want to build. Or did it create a dramatic negative swing or downward spiral in your life that you're still recovering from? Maybe never will. That's boom bust. Exciting, but unsustainable. Be honest with yourself. Map your stress responses on those graphs, especially how it changes at the extremes on a chart like the ones above. And I just want to take a pause here. It turns out we're not very good at predicting what the likely outcomes are, but we are pretty good at predicting what the extreme impact of events will be, both extreme negative stresses and extreme positive stresses. So think about that when you're trying to draw your graph, essentially doing some kind of sensitivity test to say, how will I be impacted with a 10% positive stress? How will I be impacted with a 20, 30, 40, 50, 60? And then you do the same with the negative stresses and see what the shape of that curve is that you are drawing when you're plotting the points. From my research with clients and students from around the world and from my own experience, it seems that most of us are more fragile in most areas than what we think. We are also more robust in a few than we think. And where we think we might be anti-fragile, we are probably bipolar. Few of us are truly anti-fragile. That should be our goal. The purpose of the brutally honest stress response assessment isn't to judge yourself, but to see clearly where you are so you can decide where you want to be and invest the time while you have it to figure out how to get there. The 3-step journey. Here's the good news. You can transform any system from fragile to anti-fragile, but there's a specific sequence that works, and most people often skip steps or get the sequence wrong. Think of it like building a house. You can't build the second floor before the first floor. No matter how excited you are about the upstairs rooms and the beautiful view, the same principle applies to building anti-fragile systems. Step 1 is building survival power, making sure bad events can't destroy you. In business, this might mean emergency funds, backup suppliers, or cross-trained employees. In personal life, it's financial buffers, multiple skills, and a strong support network. In relationships, it's conflict resolution skills, emotional safety, and repair processes. The question to ask yourself, if the worst case scenario happened tomorrow, would you survive it? If not, you need to work on the survival mechanisms before anything else. Step 2 is building growth power, making sure good events make you much stronger. In business, this means systems that scale quickly and the ability to spot opportunities fast. Personally, it's developing a learning mindset, multiple income sources, and activities that create new options. In relationships, it's using challenges to build intimacy and supporting each other's growth. Ask yourself, when good things happen, do you capture way more benefit than others in your situation? If not, you're missing growth opportunities. Step 3 is avoiding the boom-bust trap, keeping growth sustainable so you don't crash. This means growth limits that prevent overextension in business, sustainable habits instead of extreme cycles in personal life, and steady practices that work in all seasons for relationships. The question here, can you maintain your improvements when life gets stressful? If your progress disappears under pressure, you've built boom-bust patterns instead of true anti-fragility. Most people try to jump straight to step 2, the exciting growth stuff, without building step 1 survival mechanisms. This creates boom-bust systems that feel exciting but eventually crash. Don't make that mistake. Why past success and failures mislead us? Here's something that might surprise you. Success can actually make you more fragile, and failure can make you more anti-fragile. Exactly what happened to me. When things go well for a long time, like it did for me, we often optimize away the very things that protected us. We reduce risks and eliminate what appears to be waste, which was actually capacity needed for protection and rapid recovery. We become overconfident and forget that bad times will come. We streamline everything for efficiency and accidentally create fragility. This is exactly what happened to me. My years of success had made me fragile without realizing it. I'd removed all the buffers and backup plans that would have helped me handle the 2009 crisis. Think about successful people you know who fell apart when faced with their first real crisis in years. It happens because success without stress can weaken your ability to handle problems. It's like a muscle that gets weak from lack of use. The anti-fragile approach is different. Instead of just trying to avoid problems, you build systems that can handle them and grow stronger in the process. Simple test. Here's a question that reveals everything about your current situation. If something you depend on disappeared tomorrow, your biggest client, your primary income source, your main relationship support system, what would happen? If it would devastate you, you're fragile in that area. If you'd handle it but not improved, you're robust. If you'd figured out something even better, you're anti-fragile. If it would create wild swings in your life, you boom bust. This isn't about being paranoid or pessimistic. It's about honest assessment that lets you build real strength. The goal isn't to avoid all dependency. That's impossible and unhealthy. The goal is to build systems that can adapt and grow when dependencies change. What's coming next? Now that you understand the 4 types of systems and the 3-step transformation, the rest of the book shows you exactly how to apply these ideas across every domain of your life. In Chapter 2, we'll explore how to build businesses and work situations that thrive during uncertainty and capture more opportunities than competitors. In Chapter 3, you'll learn how to become someone who grows stronger through adversity while building multiple sources of resilience and capability. Chapter 4 shows how to create relationships that deepen through challenges instead of being damaged by them. Then we'll give you the practical tools to make it happen. You'll learn how to find the one thing that will have the biggest impact on your transformation, how to create breakthrough solutions that resolve conflicts without trade-offs, how to use AI to accelerate your progress without becoming dependent on it, and exactly how to implement everything in your specific situation over the next 90 days. Your choice. You have a decision to make right now. You can keep building your life the way most people do, the way I did, trying to avoid problems, minimize risk, and reducing buffers to be more efficient, hoping nothing bad happens in the future. Or you can choose a different path. You can start building systems that don't just survive stress, but actually use it as fuel to become stronger, smarter, and more capable. You can become someone who seeks the right kind of challenges, build strengths through difficulties, and create value from volatility. The question that will guide everything we do together is simple. When stress hits, and it will, how do we want to respond? Will you break, resist, or grow stronger? Your answers determines everything that follows. Let's find out what's possible when you choose to become anti-fragile. That's the first opening chapters of my new book, How to Transform Your Organization, Your Life, Your Relationships from Fragile to Anti-Fragile. The book is available on Amazon right now in all its forms. You can download the Kindle version, the audiobook, the softcover, or the hardcover. I would absolutely love to hear from you and send me your comments, your questions, any suggestions for improvements. This was a version I wanted to get out there. I know it can be improved in terms of editing and all these things, maybe remove some of the duplication. But there are certain points I felt it was necessary to repeat, because at least I needed to hear them multiple times from the giants on whose shoulders I try to stand rather than stand in their shadows. Thank you very much for your kind attention.